History has already changed. Veldora was freed months ahead of schedule. The Goblin Village became Tempest way earlier than it ever should have. The direwolves surrendered without a fight, and an entire kingdom of monsters is already beginning to take shape. At this point, you must be thinking, well, doesn't Rimuru just win now? Well, not exactly, because knowing the future is only useful if the future refuses to change, and history has already started improvising. Back in his second life, building Tempest wasn't just about gathering strong people, it was about gathering capable people. The goblins had enthusiasm, wolves had strength, Gobta had Gobta skills, but none of them had ever built a nation before. Building a nation wasn't just about protecting people, it was about giving them a future. The goblins now had sturdy wooden homes, the wolves had territory, food was becoming less of a problem. But every time Rimuru walked through the village, he noticed the same thing. The houses were crude. Everyone was wearing simple animal hides, and there was no proper roads. And while Rimuru had managed to recreate a few basic clothes using universal shapeshift, let's just say, he wasn't about to revolutionize fashion in any way. If Tempest wanted to become a real nation, they needed craftsmen, builders, blacksmiths, tailors. Basically, they needed Dwargon. However, there is a small issue. Should he use a human form to enter Dwargon this time? He could simply recreate Shizu's body or a random one altogether. No, it doesn't feel right. Shizu is alive in this world, it wouldn't feel natural. So for now, Rimuru enters Dwargon as a slime just like he did last time. This first leads to similar outcomes as he helps Kaijin with his order, and they go on to celebrate together once again. But this time, he already sees him as one of the founding members of Tempest. When the conflict with Vesta occurs, Rimuru handles it very differently, and decides to request an audience with the king. Rimuru was smiling. King Gazelle, one of the wisest rulers in the entire world. Someone who could probably detect a lie before you even finish thinking about it. Maybe I could make up some elaborate story, Rimuru muttered. Raphael answered immediately. Estimated probability of deceiving King Gazelle, 0%. Yeah, I figured. So I guess we're doing honesty. Unlike the original timeline, there was no imprisonment, no misunderstandings. The moment King Gazelle welcomed him into the throne room, Rimuru bowed, or as much as a slime can bow. King Gazelle, I am Rimuru Tempest, a slime, a monster, a leader, and a friend. I'm about to tell you something that's gonna sound completely insane. For the next several minutes, Rimuru told him everything, about dying in Japan, about being reincarnated, about Tempest, about becoming a demon lord, about the alliance that once united their nations, about the countless lives they had saved together, about the wars they had prevented. And finally, about waking up once again at the beginning of his journey. The throne room became completely silent. Even Kaijin, whose presence was requested by Rimuru, looked like he wasn't sure whether to laugh or run. Finally, Gazelle stood, walked towards Rimuru, and smiled. After several moments, he spoke. I've met liars, I've met heroes, I've met fools. You are none of them. I cannot prove that anything you just told me is true. If what you say is true, refusing it would be foolish. And if you are indeed lying, well, you're the most interesting liar I've ever met. Rimuru laughed. Well, I'll take that. The alliance you described benefited both our nations. If destiny has truly given us another opportunity, I see no reason to waste it. Rimuru couldn't help smiling. Some people really never changed. Gazelle immediately agreed to support Tempest, not with soldiers, but with something far more valuable. Builders, stonemasons, blacksmiths, tailors, and craftsmen. Entire teams of specialists volunteered to help build Tempest, from the ground up once again. Rimuru had one particular request. Kaijin and Vesta were essential to his plans, and despite some resistance at first, Gazelle agreed to let them accompany him back to Tempest. He was much more receptive when Rimuru described his goal to research magic ores. Tempest, having an enormous concentration of magicules thanks to Veldora, is the perfect place to experiment.
This is your chance to develop your country even further.
And with this, they also seal official diplomatic ties, adding a road linking the two nations to the agenda. Before returning to Tempest, there was still one major problem Rimuru needed to tackle: Veldora. Thanks to Raphael, He could already assume a human form, but only temporarily. Maintaining it required an absurd amount of magicules. Fine for a conversation, not so great if your plan involved existing. If Veldora wanted to live among humans and other monsters permanently, he needed the proper vessel. And there was only one person Rimuru knew who had the skills and crazy attitude necessary for this job, which meant it was finally time to meet a demon lord. Ramirez. Fighting Ramirez's labyrinth was surprisingly easy. Surviving the welcome, slightly less so. The moment Rimuru entered, a massive golem charged straight toward him. Really? Combat solution calculated. One attack. The golem exploded into hundreds of pieces. A tiny scream echoed through the labyrinth. Hey! Do you know how long that took me to build? Ramirez flew into view, already pouting. You broke Gary. Okay, I'm definitely naming every future golem. Did you say Gary? Once everyone calmed down, Rimuru explained why he had come. So, you're saying you need my help to create a vessel? Yes. A vessel capable of hosting a true dragon? Yes. And you're saying this is for Veldora, who is now free and living in your city? Yes, exactly. After Ramirez regained consciousness, she decided to join Rimuru in Tempest, thinking there was no way Veldora was roaming free. So, this would be an easy vacation. It was a start, so Rimuru didn't exactly try to convince her otherwise. Constructing the vessel would take time, meaning Veldora couldn't remain in human form for long. So he just stayed home. And just like he was in the cave, the Storm Dragon had absolutely nothing to do. So Rimuru did what he did best. And with the help of Raphael, he recreated manga. What manga, you ask? All of it. Volume after volume, panel after panel. Close enough to the originals that even Raphael seemed slightly offended by how much effort had gone into it. Several hours later, Rimuru returned. Veldora hadn't moved an inch. He slowly looked up. Tears filled in his eyes. Masterpiece. Which one? All of them. So when will I get the rest of the story? Rimuru looked away. He didn't have the heart to tell him that he would never get the full story. Out of everyone Rimuru had met during his first life, there was one person he refused to leave to fate. Shizu. Unlike before, he didn't wait for destiny to bring them together. He actively searched for her. Until one day, the individual Shizue Aizawa has entered the great forest of Jura. He finally found her. The conversation felt strangely familiar. Not because they had met before, but because they understood each other on a way deeper level. Just like the first time, Rimuru shared his memories of the current Japan. Convenience stores, summer festivals, rice balls, vending machines, things that seemed insignificant, but are symbols of the one thing that represented Shizu the most: resilience. For hours, they simply talked, not as hero and monster, not as summoned child and demon lord, just two people who missed home. Eventually, Rimuru took a deep breath. Shizu, I'm about to sound completely insane, and trust me, I'm saying this way too often to my liking. He told her everything. The first timeline, her sacrifice, his promise, his second chance. When he finished, Shizu remained quiet. So, I will die soon? Rimuru's heart skipped a beat as he saw Shizu, drawing a smile while asking the question. Not this time, I hope. Soon afterward, Ifrit awakened, exactly as Rimuru expected. Except this time, he barely had time to do anything. Raphael immediately initiated a spiritual separation. Golden light surrounded Shizu. Ifrit struggled, roared, threatened. Raphael remained completely unimpressed. Resistance detected. Correcting. Seconds later, Ifrit had disappeared into Beelzebub. Just like that. The flames vanished. The pain disappeared. Shizu collapsed. Finally free. Without Ifrit sustaining her unnaturally, she looked slightly older than before. Closer to the age she might have been had she simply lived a normal life. But she was unmistakably Shizu. She touched her face, then her chest. No pain, no heat. No voice whispering inside her mind. For the first time since she was summoned, she was simply herself. Then Rimuru heard Raphael. Shizue Aizawa's magicules have been stabilized. An aging process was stopped. Come with me to Tempest. Help me build a new future where nobody has to go through the same things you did. After helping her recover, Rimuru scratched the back of his head awkwardly. Can I ask you something weird? Shizu laughed. I have a feeling you're going to anyway. Would you mind if I borrowed your appearance? She blinked. Borrow? Well, I don't really have a human form, and you see, in the past I used yours, so I thought maybe, you know, I'll allow it, but you can't be any cuter than me. Raphael immediately confirmed. Permission acquired. See? Even ultimate skills understand consent. Back in Tempest, Rimuru was looking around the village. His reacquired human form made it much easier to move around. Most of the houses were simple wooden cabins. Some didn't even have doors yet. Then, there was one enormous mansion. Perfect, beautiful, practically a palace. Standing proudly in the middle of what looked like a very enthusiastic construction site. Why is Veldora's house the nicest building in the country? One goblin just scratched the back of his head. He seemed like the resident probably least likely to accept poor craftsmanship. I guess that's fair. With everything slowly developing in Tempest, Rimuru had one mission for the day. Change the fate of the ogres. In the original story, their arrival was a tragedy. A proud race of warriors, a civilization built on strength and honor, destroyed overnight. The entire village was erased by the orc army. The survivors arrived at Rimuru's doorstep carrying only one thing: hatred. They wanted revenge. But this time, things will be different. As Rimuru prepared to leave, Gopta appeared carrying a backpack almost bigger than himself. Alright, I'm ready. And who invited you? Well, but I packed. Truthfully, Rimuru didn't mind. Ever since Veldora had named Gopta, Raphael kept reporting some strange changes. Gopta had evolved into something called a Storm Hobgoblin. Oddly enough, he looked exactly the same. Seriously, not even taller. Correction. Confidence has increased by approximately 12%. I guess we'll take that. Curious to see what the evolution actually meant, Rimuru agreed, and they rode through the forest. Rimuru atop Ronga, and Gopta proudly riding Urunga. Watching Gopta cling to a wolf almost 3 times his size, Rimuru couldn't help thinking. Somehow, this looked perfectly normal now. They reached the ogre village before disaster struck, and standing before them were some familiar faces. Benimaru, Shion, Shuna, Hakuro, Soe, Kurobe, and the ogre chief. Gopta immediately froze. He looked at Shion. She's beautiful. Shion folded her arms. Weirdo. Gopta was not among us anymore, so not sure he heard anything. Inside the village, Rimuru wasted no time. Gelmud. The room froze. How do you know that name? Rimuru explained everything. The Orc Lord, the coming invasion, the destruction, waiting just days away. Nobody really believed him until Hakuro spoke. Not because he can read his words, because he can read his actions. This creature has power way beyond our imagination. If he wished us harm, he wouldn't have crossed the entire forest to warn us. Rimuru wanted the ogres to come to Tempest. There they would be safe from the orc invasion, until they managed to get it under control. The ogre chief nodded. We'll come, but only temporarily. If you're wrong, we'll return. With his first mission accomplished, Rimuru just wanted to do one more thing. If you'd allow me to, I would like to name all of you. This would take months at least. If what you say is true, we can't afford that. Don't worry, I'm not exactly your typical slime. Releasing a little bit of his aura was enough to convince everyone. Benimaru, Shion, Shuna, Hakuro, Soe, Kurobe. Then came the ogre chief, another change in the timeline. Hopyo. The magicules erupted around them. The evolution didn't stop at Kijin, it continued straight to Oni. But not just any Oni. The overwhelming amount of magicules caused their evolution to reach a level far beyond the original. Benimaru stared at his own hands. Who exactly are you? Recommendation: do not answer the question. Back in Tempest, the Oni stopped in front of that one particular building, the mansion. Then they looked around. Tiny wooden houses, half-finished roads, construction everywhere. Then back at the mansion. Benimaru blinked. Who lives there? Gupta answered proudly. Lord Vildora. You mean the Storm Dragon? Yup. Almost on cue, a loud voice echoed from inside.
Yosh!
Rimuru, I finished it. But where is the rest of the story? I'm sure Eren is gonna save everyone. Yeah, let's not burst that bubble just yet. Several peaceful days passed. The Oni settled into Tempest. Dwargon's craftsman arrived, and project vessel is almost done. For the first time, Rimuru feels a bit more in control. He had truly changed fate. Then, one morning, Shizu didn't come to breakfast. Raphael, locate Shizu. Searching. Target not found. Again. Expanding search zone. Searching. Unable to locate target. Rimuru rushed to her room. It was empty. Only her mask remained. Beside it, a letter. Thank you. You gave me something I thought I had lost forever. But there are still things I can only settle myself. Please, don't look for me. Rimuru quietly folded the letter. You really are stubborn. And once again, Rimuru is reminded that the future he knew is no more.
なるほど、その手がありましたか。
Hey you! Yes, you. Yes. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to not miss part 3. If we get this video to 25 likes, I'll try to get the video out for next week. Also, if you want to check out some of my other content, click on screen for another video. Cheers guys!